Showcase.
When the National Hot Rod Association originally created the top alcohol dragster sportsman category, they envisioned a variety of engine and chassis combinations competing head-to-head. Well, in our coverage of the Colorado Sports Nationals from Denver today, you'll see exactly what the rules makers had in mind: variety. No, you are not seeing double. There are two engines in this car driven by Kurt Posowski. Now, you normally find a big supercharged Hemi behind the driver. If you don't use a supercharger, you can double up on the engine. That's exactly what this crew has decided to do. These are huge Oldsmobile motors, over 600 cubic inches apiece, combined horsepower over 1,500. Now, the car looks heavy. It is heavy, 2,400 pounds. But because they use gasoline instead of methanol, they can add bottled horsepower, nitrous oxide. That's what makes this combination work. Oh, and there's another interesting factor here. The twin-engine car is crew chief by twins. Meet the Cavaliers of Omaha. Let's go to Don Garlits for more variety.
Well, Steve, as we continue to look at these alcohol dragsters, there's one thing I've got to tell you. They don't all run alcohol. In fact, this car, Bruce McDowell's dragster, runs on 100% nitromethane. Gosh, that's just like my Swamp Rat 1 from the old days, only I had carburetors. He's got this real nice injector with 2 barrel valves, 2 magnetos. I used to have 1 Vertex, 2 fuel pumps, but no supercharger. They use this nitrous oxide, just like on the car you were looking at. That's how they get the pressure. They pump that nitrous oxide in there, and if they put a lot in, they get a lot of pressure, and they might go real fast, but they could hurt things. Look at these pistons. Looks like they came out of a fuel dragster. A little bit too much pressure there. If they don't get this problem corrected, things could go afoul for them. Well, for more on these dragsters, let's go to Bob Fry.
Well, Don, you can take your injected nitro-burning cars, and Steve, you can have all the twin-engine cars you want. For me, I'll take the brand-new 1991 Funster. They're saying, what's a Funster? Well, it's not a dragster, and it's not a funny car. It's kind of a top alcohol dragster wannabe. This is the new car from the Neyland Parks chassis shop, and it's a tremendously unique creation. One of the very few front-engine cars that runs in top alcohol dragster. It's only about 180 inches long. This car comes from the team that has put together some of the most unique cars we've seen in a long while. They had the first V6 car in the 7s, the first V6 car in the 6s, and to the best of my knowledge, the only twin-turbo car ever to run in top alcohol dragster. From the flames to the wheelbase to the front engine, there's nothing traditional about this race car. Unfortunately, sometimes you can trick yourself right out of the program. That's what happened here. This car went out in round number 1.
Well, now it's time for round number 2 of top alcohol dragster competition, and there you're looking at one of the very best, Blaine Johnson. He and his brother Alan were the first to really figure out how to use the blown Oldsmobile correctly, how to make an awful lot of power. They were given a bit of a weight advantage by NHRA because of the cylinder heads, and they used it effectively. And here is a more conventional alcohol dragster. This is a Brad Anderson power plant driven by Roger Prim out of Reno, Nevada. And it's time for the all-important burnouts in any class of drag racing. You've got to get those tires good and warm. Don Garlits?
And Blaine Johnson, you know, is the defending Winston top alcohol dragster champion, so that's a lot of prestige.
Well, I feel like in a small way I helped sponsor Roger Prim. You see, I have visited the Whiskey Pete's Casino in Reno and in Las Vegas that does sponsor this car, and boy, do they like seeing me.
One thing I like about the class, Steve, is because of the rules and the way it's figured and the fuel that they burn alcohol, you don't make that excessive horsepower, and everybody is pretty evenly matched. If you're going to have a race, it's usually a side-by-side race.
Absolutely, and here in this altitude, which is well over 6,000 feet, the only thing they can really do to compensate for that lack of air is to try to put more air in the motor through the supercharger. So you can bet that everybody has got the biggest pulley on the bottom and the smallest pulley on the top. Blaine Johnson, Santa Maria, California, home of the Bandimere Air Force Base. Roger Prim, Reno, Nevada. Don't need to tell you much about that. The biggest little city in America. Now listen to the sound of this car. They have that wonderful kind of hollow sound that allows you to hear the transmission shift. They use a 3-gear unit in these cars. You can hear the sing of the blower over the exhaust note. They're really fun to listen to, especially for the fans down about 1,000 feet.
What I like about them, though, is the way they leave the starting line. It reminds me of the old days when we used to go up to the line and just before the flag would be dropped, you just put it right on the wood. Well, that's what they do.
Oh, absolutely. You can hear the RPM as they stage these alcohol dragsters. And up like a shot is Blaine Johnson. Here comes Prim. Not enough. Blaine Johnson, 6:32 to a losing 6.42 seconds. The Oldsmobile over the Brad Anderson Hemi here in the second stanza of alcohol dragster competition. Let's go to Big Daddy.
6:32, plenty strong.
Quite a step up in it. We were real soft all weekend. We figured this is the time to do it, so we got after it, and it worked.
Remarkable making that kind of power up this high.
It is. I'm very surprised it's running as good as it is.
All right, here's another pair of alcohol dragsters. We're still in round number 2, and this will pit a man from Kansas, Tim Baxter, against Bruce McDowell from California.
Well, Tim Baxter's had a tough weekend. They've had to change the engine. They've had to change the blowers. And it's been a hard road for them to hoe to get to where they are right now. Of course, I know his dad, Don. They have antique Ford parts back in Kansas. And I'll tell you what, it's fun calling them up and getting some of them new old stock parts for your old Ford that's still in the original Ford boxes.
Well, I visited there last fall, and you're right. It's like going back in history. Getting backed up is Bruce McDowell. You look at the very small wing that these cars run. They really don't need the huge wing, as we've showed you before in the pro category of top fuel, because it's not going all that fast. But Bruce McDowell, Ramona, California, will tell you in this rare air, you've got to run more of an attack with that wing to make it effective. Tim Baxter, we've talked about him. He's won a number of divisional titles, several national events out of Loris, Kansas. The whole family loves to drag race. That's their pastime.
I noticed something starting to show up is the dual element wings on these cars. Small, but still the dual element, a very efficient style of wing.
Good start by both guys. Ooh, and we see fire out of the pipes on McDowell's car, and that was just enough to let Baxter come by. McDowell had him used up until the engine came apart. 6:53 at 2:04, the winning time. Let's go to Big Daddy on the starting line with crew chief Tim Wodarczyk.
Well, you happy with that performance?
Very happy. We've had nothing but trouble all weekend. We've changed motors. We've changed heads. We've had nothing but trouble. We're pleased.
Well, it looked like a good run.
Thank you very much.
Well, indeed, it was a good run. It was an even better run for Bruce McDowell until something happened about, 1,000 feet or so. Let's have another look at it. We can see clearly Baxter is off the mark, about 2 hundredths ahead of the car over in the far lane. And Don Garlis, what do you think happens coming up here?
Well, if you look right about there, you'll see a little flash of fire on the right-hand side of the engine. I suspect that McDowell burned the piston, and of course that cut its horsepower down and allowed the Baxter car to just kind of pull out in front and just barely gain the win.
Let's go down to the far end again with Bob Fry.
Tim Baxter's name might not be on the deed to this place, but you just about own this racetrack.
Yeah, we've had real good luck out here at some of the division races, and we've had a lot of trouble this weekend, but it looks like our luck might be changing right now.
That race was a lot closer than you would hope for.
Yeah, I saw him fade out, and we just passed him right in the lights. We've had our troubles of our own, so I'm just hoping it'd hold together all the way through the finish line.
Well, good luck in the next round. You may wind up owning this place before the weekend's over.
I sure hope so. Thanks a lot.
Well, he's definitely going to have to step up the performance because some of these other cars are running at least 2/10 quicker.
I got to tell you, I have a fondness and always have had for twin-engine dragsters. And here is Kurt Posowski in the near lane, the car we featured at the very top of the show. Well, he's in top, up against Jay Payne. The problem with the twin-engine car and the injected nitro car, they've got all the horsepower. They're just so violent with that nitrous oxide. To get the clutch to handle them is a big problem.
They produce a tremendous amount of torque.
Kurt Posowski, Omaha, Nebraska, the twin-engine car wrenched by twin crew chiefs, and nobody's having more fun than they are, I guarantee you. From Upland, California is Jay Payne, who is getting some help here in round number 2 from Shelly Anderson, daughter of Brad, whose engine combination he's running. And Shelly has her own alcohol dragster, but she got a little unlucky in round number 1 and had to park it, and now jumps in with one of the customers to lend a hand.
But I'll tell you, she's doing a real good job. She's just started driving that car, just got her license not too long ago.
That's right, but she was born to do it. Two radically different cars side by side. The twin-engine machine with nitrous oxide, laughing gas. It'll be no laughing matter, however, if they can get around Jay Payne over the other side. He's got the conventional, supercharged, alcohol-burning Brad Anderson Hemi. Here we go.
Amazing. Two so totally different can race side by side.
All over the racetrack is Posowski. His big top-end charge of 216 miles an hour is not enough as Jay Payne is there first at 6:39, 214. Don Garlits is down on the starting line with Shelly Anderson, who was helping out Jay Payne.
Well, it's 6:39. That's pretty good.
Not good enough. Got to step it up, huh?
Got some plans?
Jay does. Jay's the crew chief, but yeah, he'll step it up. He'll try. Okay.
Well, guys, we didn't exactly double our pleasure today as hard as you tried.
Well, we doubled our fun. We gave it our best shot. When you're going against guys like Jay Payne, it's real tough to expect to win, especially since this is our first NHRA national event. But, like they say, we'll be back.
How long will it take to get the most out of this thing?
Oh, I think within the next couple of races, we'll be all right. We're going to get rid of the 3-speed and go to a 2-speed Lenco and just work with that combination.
Hope to see you again soon, both of you.
We'll be at Indy. All right.
I wonder if one tunes one engine, the other tunes the other. You know, it'd be an interesting question to ask them.
I think anything is possible with the Cavallari twins, as we'll probably see at the U.S. Nationals. And here is one tough customer in the near lane, past Winston champion Tom Conway, and he's in the hunt for this year's title from Seminole, Oklahoma.
Car runs extremely well.
And you know, the only real help he has is his wife. We were watching him change engines last night, and then I think he slept in the trailer. I mean, you talk about run. Hey, you know what that's all about, man.
It sounds like the old days.
Well, for you, it wasn't that long ago. John McLaughlin is from right here in Morrison, Colorado. It can't be a town of more than a few thousand people, so you bet they're all on hand. Conway, that must have been right after he blew up that earlier motor. We took that headshot.
I'll tell you, maybe a small town will get the best Mexican food this side of Rio Grande.
That's right. It is a beautiful community with a trout stream running right through town. If you ever get to Denver, just about a dozen miles away, you'll find it. All right, in the far lane, looking for the upset is the local driver, McLaughlin. It ain't going to happen today. Not against Conway. Just too strong. The man from Oklahoma, 6.30. That will get Blaine Johnson's attention. 216 miles an hour. Let's go down on the starting line with the only help Tom Conway has, his wife, Linda.
Well, that's a great run.
Right. It's a pretty good run. I'm pleased with it.
They say you work on it, too.
Oh, sometimes.
Linda Conway wearing her communications gear. She can actually talk to her husband, Tom. He's backing up. Maybe he yells go when the light turns green. So we have the final four. Tom Conway against Baxter. Conway has lane choice. Jay Payne versus Blaine Johnson. Johnson has lane choice, but not low ET of the round now. That belongs to Conway.
One of the smallest crews in the sport just continues to make a lot of noise in the Eliminator bracket. Congratulations, Tom, 630.
Thank you. We're real proud of that. I didn't really think it'd run that fast. We weren't trying to be real, really step on it hard, but we just want to be sure and get down there. We got Baxter the next round, and he can do something. You never know about him.
It's always tough, too, when you're running some of the local guys. I mean, John gave you a lot more, I think, than you expected.
No, I expected a lot from him. He's been running real good mile an hour, and I expected him to be right there.
These point chases real fun when they get this close?
Well, it's a lot of pressure. I guess it's fun. There's four of them. It's right there, boy. It's going to be right down the wire, I think.
Should be a great next round, too.
It will be. There'll be two more good rounds. I hope I'm in both of them.
Shift gears and body configurations as we go into top alcohol funny car. The same basic engines as Tom Conway runs for Pat Austin and Stan Smith. Now remember, we told you earlier, if Pat Austin gets to the finals, he'll be the Winston champion. There we see his Castrol GTX funny car. Well, if he beats Stan Smith, there nobody can keep him out of the finals. But because the way the ladder works out, he will have a bye run. It'll be a round of 3 rather than a round of 4. So this is really it. It's all on the line, Don.
You're absolutely right, Steve. If he wins this round, he will become the Winston champion for the 4th unprecedented time.
Unbelievable, and he is 26 years of age. Don Garlits, he has won 38 NHRA national events. A veteran like Don Perdome has only won 43. How many have you won over your career?
Oh, about 36. You know, it wouldn't surprise me to see Pat Austin going into a fuel funny car.
Well, either a fuel funny car or a fuel Dragster. A lot of rumors to that effect, and we're trying to find out for our sister show, NHRA Today. But right now, all he's concerned about is winning for his family, his sponsor, and, of course, himself. But leave us not forget that Stan Smith over the other lane of that 89 Ford Grove defeated the vaunted Brad Anderson earlier today in round number 1. But his performance was eclipsed by Pat Austin, who had low ET of the world, or of the mountain here, at 6:28. So Austin will be double top unless this track bites him.
Well, it can do that. Remember, we're at 6,000 feet. Sometimes it always doesn't come out the way you think it would.
Certainly a beautiful paint scheme on Smith's automobiles. We see those cloudy skies. It's very cool. Almost impossible to overheat one of these alcohol funny cars. That's why no one is in any hurry. Smith moves up and puts what they call the pre-stage light on. Austin does likewise. Another set of bulbs each, and it'll be race time. Smith's in. Pat's in. Could this be the championship? Maybe he had to work for it, but Brother Mike says that's it. 4 Winston titles. It's merely a formality now to get through this day, but Pat Austin will wear the number 1 again.
Let's take a closer look. We see that Stan Smith takes a nice starting line advantage, but it doesn't last for long. Walt Austin tuned that motor for his son right, and the car begins to make a nice strong move by the time it gets off the pad. As they move further down course, he just continues to gather up that starting line advantage till finally, as they get toward the end, he's got a whole car length out in front of him to take the win.
Bob Price with it.
Lots of great news for Pat Austin. A, you won that round. B, you've got a solo in the next round. C, you're in the finals. And D, you're now officially the Winston World Champion.
Rock and roll. That's all I got to say. It's a Castrol Oldsmobile Dynamax Special that just kicked everybody's butt, and we're having a great time. And we're going to kick it all year long. We're just getting ready to kick it in high gear now, and it's going to get serious.
It's bad news for the rest of these guys if you aren't in high gear yet.
Well, we got a few surprises up our sleeves, and it's now that the points deal's over with and the experimenting's on, you're going to see some, you could see some big, downers, but you're going to see some big highs too. And with Walt Austin horsepower, you're going to see some real highs. I can guarantee you that.
We're going to see some more highs in just a moment here. The crew's coming down. Pat Austin, the 91 Winston World Champion.
Pat Austin making reference to a brand new power plant that they have designed in conjunction with Oldsmobile. They hope to debut it by this year's U.S. Nationals. And that is one of the toughest alcohol funny cars on the continent. I say continent because Stan Sipos is from Canada, the beautiful city of Victoria, British Columbia. And in round number 1, even though he had a single run, he fired off a 6.33 elapsed time. And guess what? He is going to have another single run here in round number 2. He's got all the performance and the luck to go with it. Seldom happens do you get back-to-back bye runs that Stan Sipos and his 91 Old Cutlass will, because Jet Field, nicknamed the Idaho Kid, couldn't make the call. Big Daddy's in his pit.
Well, Jet, we hear Stan Sipos' engine running on the starting line. Your engine is still apart. You're in the pit. You're not going to make this round. What happened?
Well, on the first round, we broke a lifter about 900 foot, and the car nosed over and banged the blower, and we just couldn't come back. We have no spare parts to come back like in that magnitude.
But you could repair something small, but not that much all together at once.
That's correct. We don't have a spare bullet in the trailer, so we couldn't come back. We had to pass on this round.
Well, that's too bad. We hope you get it all fixed for the next race.
Okay, thank you very much, Don.
Well, they're starting to run so much cylinder pressure in these alcohol cars, especially trying to get all that air in at this altitude. The supercharger problems and drive belt problems have been plaguing an awful lot of racers. Now, Stan Sipos in round number 1 came up with a great 6:33. Let's see if he can match that. Maybe not all over the racetrack. Sipos blazes through at 6:33. So he's got the consistency, if not the handling. Don Garlitz has hustled back to the starting line to talk to his crew chief, Les Davenport.
Do you run them as hard when you're on a single and you know you're going to be on a single?
No, we've got to back down a little bit. We don't want to spin the tires and do something stupid. You can still lose on a single by crossing the center line. Let's not do something stupid. Let's get the next round first.
You bet.
Well, the way that car was all over the racetrack, it still may have been spinning the tires just a little bit. All right, our next pair, the beautiful car, the Cheeseman brothers. Chuck Cheeseman up against a real hero in mid-America, Vern Modes from the state of Iowa. Cheeseman driving the 90 Oldsmobile. These are both huge motors. Chuck Cheeseman, 526 cubic inches. Vern Modes, 542. Right now, let's go down to the far end of the racetrack and get some comments from Stan Sipos.
Riding up and down the hills of Denver, Colorado and the surrounding areas can be like a roller coaster ride, and that's probably the best way to describe your last year of racing, Stan.
Well, my last year was a roller coaster. It was a great year, though. And I think that's the price you pay when you're a rookie. So I don't think I could ask for anything more. I feel pretty good. Things are coming around. Our Remax DuPont Oldsmobile is really starting to get some steady performance for us, and that's the main thing. So I'm looking forward to the next round and having some fun. I think a lot of us over here, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and I think the difficult thing is to have some fun.
I think what you ought to do is maybe look for a good bracket race around the way your car's been running. A bunch of 630s here.
Exactly. That goes to show that the crew's doing a terrific job. I just, as I say, I'm just a passenger on a fast bus, and the bus is obviously well taken care of.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, that bus driver is going to have to race the winner of the cars currently on the starting line, Chuck Cheeseman and Vern Motes. Don Carlos.
Both of which have run into the low 630s, so either one that comes out the winner will be a formidable competitor for him.
That's right. Vern Motes qualified in the 4th position, as you said, with a 6:39. He beat Jimmy Jones earlier today in round number 1. Now, Ray Motes was the victim of Chuck Cheeseman in round number 1. Cheeseman qualified number 3 at a 6:38. He's a formidable opponent for anybody, Pat Austin included. So as they roll to the starting line, engine temperature up now. They run no radiators on these cars. They don't even run any water in the engines. The alcohol fuel runs so cool.
Looking back to round 1, I give Cheeseman just a little bit of an advantage in the tune-up.
Listen to the RPM. Out launching Cheeseman is Modes. But Cheeseman comes around. Chuck Cheeseman to the final 4 at 6.42 seconds, 217 miles per hour. To Modes off pace, 669, only 204. Something went drastically wrong with that car. So, in the final 4 of Top Alcohol Funny Car, we will be seeing Chuck Cheeseman versus Stan Sipos. Sipos will have the lane choice, but not a big factor so far. And the second pair won't be a pair at all. It's the final 3, really. Pat Austin with his bye run. Can't lose that one. The competition eliminator cars. And this is a category we have shown you before in our sportsman coverage. They're cars of all types. They're very exotic, quite expensive, really. And what makes it all work is the NHRA index system, where a handicap can be dialed into the electronic Christmas tree to equalize all of the different classes. Todd Patterson will be in the far lane from Augusta, Kansas. His 91 Chevy Lumina, 331 cubic inches, the seat-altered class. His opponent will be Ron Neff from nearby Arvada, Colorado. That is a B Economy Dragster, a Buick engine, 343 cubic inches. Patterson will get a 0.69 second head start because his index is that much slower than that of Neff. So the Dragster will have to play the hair roll. The tortoise part will go to Todd Patterson. And Don Garlett, you said before, if you ever raced in this class, you'd want to be the guy that left first, not the guy that has to wait.
That's right. I would not want to sit there and watch my competitor drive down the drag strip ahead of me.
I'll tell you, Neff is doing it beautifully. Here he comes. Oh, what a finish. Electronically judged. Neff is the winner at 784 to Patterson's 860. And of course, it was that 0.69 hundredths of a second advantage that went to Patterson off the line that made this stunning competition. And Patterson really takes advantage of it. An excellent reaction to the light. Better than Neff enjoyed by about 8 hundredths of a second. So there's a hole shot, even though they're not side by side. And it went to Patterson.
That's right, and it took all that Neff could muster to get by him, and it's so difficult to see it at the end because Patterson is slowing tremendously while Neff is gaining, and it just whistled by him right there at the end. Only 1/1000th of a second difference when you add up all of the reaction times and the indexes. That's all that separated those two cars, 1/1000th of a second.
1/1000th of a second is the time a golf pro's driver spends impacting the ball.
The big hunk with a big win, handing Todd Patterson, the defending champion, a punch out here in this round. Way to go, Ron.
Boy, thanks a lot. I don't even know what I ran, but I think it spun a little off starting line. But, man, when I put her in drive, he was mine.
Did it look like he hit the brakes at the finish line? Or?
Todd? Not that I'm aware of. If he did, he was sure silly because I didn't pass him by much.
You really got to like running at this track, huh?
Oh, this is my baby. We're going to do it today.
Good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Next up in competition eliminator, some more variety. That's what you gotta love about this class in NHRA Sportsman Drag Racing. In the near lane, it's going to be Tom Snyder. And you talk about a fellow who was literally raised at Bandimere Speedway. Snyder and his late father, they drag raced here together for decades. The car is called Pappy's Pride in memory of his dad. He is up against Mike Hazlett over in the far lane. And people will tell you, well, a dragster is the smart car to run in comp because it's a longer wheelbase and is far more stable down the racetrack. But guys like Tom Snyder will tell you, I like altered roadsters. I've always run altered roadsters, and I'm going to run an altered roadster. And you're wrong. So we'll just have to see how all of this works out. Now, Hazlett is the #1 qualifier, 58 hundredths of a second under his index. Snyder, the #4 qualifier, 49 hundredths of a second under his index. Let's remember the index is for average cars. These aren't average cars. 0.2 of a second will go to the Dragster, not the altered. It has a bigger motor. It's the faster car.
Well, I like this class because I'd like to run a dragster, and I would hate to sit on the starting line and wait. In this class, I'd be out in front, and that roadster'd have to run me down.
Well, let's see how you would do in that dragster. We'll pretend you're in the Hazlett car over in the far lane. Oh, he cuts a nice light, but here comes a more powerful altered roadster. As they tend to do, the roadster moving around a bit, but he got him. It is Pappy's Pride. The crowd roars. They've loved that car forever here on the mountain. If you can't stand whisper close competition, don't get into competition eliminator. Snyder, a 758, 178 miles an hour, and here's how he got it done.
Let's take another look. If you forget about the index difference, they cut almost identical lights, but the dragster was out in front because of the index, and the roadster had to run him down. As we come down course, we can see the roadster gaining rather rapidly on the dragster as they cross the 8 mile mark. It's still the dragster out front, but now here comes the roadster. And look how fast he gathers him up right at the last minute to take the win.
That is David Nickens out of the state of Texas, the Castrol GTX Oldsmobile. He will be up against Mike Trumbull. Now, you can't officially put the crown on David Nickens' head, but he has so many Winston points. He's so far out in front, it's very unlikely that anybody is going to overtake him. It'd be his first ever Winston Championship, I might add. Well, Mike Trumbull would like to put him out of competition here if he could in this third round of competition eliminator from Pasadena, Texas. And there is David Nickens. He and his brother, very successful engine builders, and they bring their best product to the starting line. You'll see a Trumbull start advantage of 1 second plus 200. That's a little over 2 lights on the half-second Christmas tree. Now, Nickens is giving up 500ths more than he anticipated because in round #1, he punished the index so hard they CIC'd him, as the racers call it. The competition index committee said, oh, David, you're sandbagging, boy. And they lowered his index 500ths of a second. That can only help Trumbull.
Well, let's see if Nickens can sit there a whole second while Trumbull goes down the racetrack without red light. Yes, he does.
But if there's a pro in sportsman drag racing, it's a car in the near lane. He just blows the doors of the man from Pasadena, Texas. His crew, they're liking that a whole lot. It's Nickens at 841, 153 miles per hour, 0.5 of a second under the index.
Well, Nickens cuts another real good light, and even though he lost that 0.05 of a second on the index, it didn't seem to harm him in any way. He continued to charge on and beat Trumbull very handily. Here we see him making up that giant difference that's out there. You wouldn't think that you could do that in a drag race in only a quarter of a mile, but just watch as the cars come down course how easily he gathers Trumbull up as they approach that finish line. It's almost as though Trumbull shut off his engine.
Well, Nickens gained back his 500s on the Christmas tree. He had a better reaction time by 600. So when we get around to the comp semifinals, it'll be Ron Neff versus Tom Snyder. Neff will have the lane choice. The bad news for both of them is this man waltzes into the final. The way the ladder stacks up, David Nickens has a 5 run. And it's time for the final 4 in alcohol dragster.
And this should be a real good pair. Both cars in the 630s. Both cars excellent levers. Real good on working the lights to get starting line advantages. This is the kind of race that the fans come to see.
You know, and it's interesting too, Don. We talked about the variety of cars at the top of the show. Well, the variety is now gone. injected nitro car, the twin-engine car with nitrous, the front-motored, almost Alder-type car. It's the, well, conventional wisdom. Maybe it's a power of numbers, but we're down now to rear-motored, supercharged alcohol dragsters in competition.
I think, Steve, you're right. It is a power of numbers, but also these are cars that are kind of experimental, and people are just kind of getting into them. They may be in some of these final 4 rounds before it's over.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I'll tell you what, I predict if anybody can ever harness the power of the unblown nitro cars, they could rule this class. But right now, it's guys like Blaine Johnson in the far lane and Jay Payne in the near lane that are doing just that. This has all the potential to be, well, a pick-em race.
Listen to those RPMs.
No advantage at the start. No advantage at half track. Big advantage at the finish line to Blaine Johnson and the Oldsmobile-powered car. A 633 to a losing 640, 215 miles per hour to the winning Johnson, a 212 for the departing Jay Payne. A beautiful start. Both guys were just wired right to the Christmas tree.
When we slow it way down, you can see that both cars leave almost identical with an ever so slight advantage, maybe going to Johnson and the Oldsmobile. But as we go down course, we see that Johnson's Oldsmobile had continued to maintain the performance of earlier rounds, whereas Payne's fell off just a little bit, and that's all it took to put Johnson in the winner's circle.
And that's what 700 looks like in the top alcohol dragster race.
Blaine Johnson probably takes this racing more seriously than most, so I'm just going to tell you ran a 633, and you're going to say?
That's great. We need to do a little better, though, I think. It was being a final, I guess, so we're trying to step it up against Conway. We have to see what he runs now.
I think the key to your success is your whole team does take this stuff so seriously, and you always strive to do better.
Oh, very seriously, and this is our business and our life, so we do the best we can.
You guys will have a pretty good handle on this car now. It's run well the last couple of races.
Oh, yeah, we got this new motor in here, new style of cylinder heads we made, and it's starting to really come around for us, starting to get the tune-up on it.
Well, good luck to you in the finals.
Thank you.
You notice how he's breathing hard? All those drivers do that. That's this altitude, Steve.
Absolutely, and also he apparently predicting a Tom Conway victory here in the other half of the Final Four. He said we'll have to see how Conway runs. He's eliminated Tim Baxter. I don't think Tim is thinking that way at all, nor his family. They hope to get a good shot off the line, maybe found some horsepower between rounds and put away Conway.
Unless he knows something we don't know, and I don't know what that would be.
Well, you know what he is? He's an honest man, because unless something breaks on the Conway car, Tim Baxter's in tough here, no question about it, unless he can get a hole shot, unless he can leave sometime yesterday.
Plus, you know, Conway is the Winston points leader, so that means he's been running good all year.
All right, let's watch. As these two come together, it is a nice hole shot for the Jayhawker. Baxter out first, but not for long. Conway just pummels him with a 631, 217 miles per hour. So it's going to be a Conway-Blaine Johnson final. Had earmarks of that kind of all day long. Let's go to Don Garlitz.
Boy, y'all are tough.
Trying hard.
Trying hard ain't the word for it.
Well, we're doing the best I can. I'm pretty proud of him.
We are too.
Thanks.
And we're getting just a few drops of rain from an angry sky. Nothing heavy, nothing that would interrupt competition if it doesn't get any worse than it is now. This track is so hot it just kind of steams when it hits the pavement. All right, the finals among the top alcohol dragster contingent, Conway versus Johnson. Conway has the lane choice, and Conway right now is at the far end of the racetrack with Bob Fry.
Well, I guess it's about time to find out who's the baddest dude in the valley or in the hills or wherever we are out here. You're going to go against Blaine Johnson in the finals.
Well, I hope we're ready for it. I thought I was going to need a windshield wiper to get down here.
And a 631 to his 33, you have lane choice. Is that a difference on this track?
No, both lanes are excellent. No problem at all with the racetrack.
You've been really running well since you got this new car.
It's run real good. We just hope we can make one more tonight.
It's kind of nice to look forward to a matchup with Blaine. Always nice beating those guys.
We're going to give it a shot.
And find out who's who.
We'll find out.
If that Okie hadn't been a drag racer, he might have made a good bounty hunter. Just has that look. Pat Austin is out on the pad, ready to make his bye run. It's required. We'll be back. One of the prettiest racetracks on the 18-event National Hot Rod Association Winston Tour is Bandimere Speedway. John Bandimere Jr. and his family have done an incredible job of improving this plant over the years, and it continues to draw capacity crowds.
Well, Pat Austin's getting ready for his single, but he won't just make an easy pass. He's going to stand on it because he wants lane choice, because all of these cars are relatively closely matched. So he wants to have the choice of lanes when it comes up for that all-important final.
Even though, as Conway said, the lanes are perfect, who's to know what they'll be like for the final round? So you want everything on your side you could possibly get. Pat Austin, number 1 again. Great launch, a little close to the center line. The car quits. The blower belt came off it. You saw that black-looking snake come out from under the car. That was the supercharger belt. We talked earlier about how hard they run them up here, Don.
Well, this could be a problem, because if the blower belt come on, he doesn't get lane choice. Maybe they've got some sort of a misalignment problem on the blower to the crankshaft pulley. These cars don't usually throw the belts on.
And I'll tell you what, a break for Pat Austin. Not only to have a bye run, but he broke on it. Had there been any competition at all, it'd have been thrilled. But he's already the champ. What the heck? And he's going to race in the final round. Either the man who drives that red and white Remax car, Stan Sipos, from the beautiful village of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, or the man from the Midwest, Chuck Cheeseman.
And you can bet that both Chuck and Stan were looking out there and saw that belt come off his car, and they were happy to see Austin finally having a little trouble.
Well, let's see how Pat himself feels about this situation.
It's an old expression in drag racing, I'd rather be lucky than good, and that's certainly the case right here, Pat.
You're right. I don't understand that. It didn't bang or nothing. It just broke the belt. I didn't feel any pop, but we'll look at the computer, see if it popped, but I don't think so. That's a brand new blower, so I hope something didn't go wrong with it, because that's what it felt like. It locked up instead of bang.
Were you guys trying anything different with the car when you had the bye run?
Nothing at all. New set of tires. That's about it. We'll be good for the final.
Well, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. You guys have been tough, and that's made life miserable for everybody in this field.
That's right. That's right. And we'll be here all the time. We'll be here for a long time.
Well, that's not good news for the other alcohol racers. It is good news, though, for the nitro racers who don't want this guy moving up. That spells nothing but trouble. Stan Sipos certainly proved his mettle as a competitor. He had a horrible crash last year at Maple Grove in Pennsylvania, and has come back with this beautiful car and outstanding performance.
Here we go. Both cars staged. Beautiful start. Dead even. But Cheeseman moves out in front and handily takes the win.
Something must have happened to the Sipos car as it faded to a 714, 135 miles an hour. Cheeseman will have lane choice over Pat Austin, 641, 218. Big Daddy's on the starting line with crew chief Steve Boggs.
Well, Steve, you're going into your first ever final, and you got lane choice.
Well, we're going to make the best of it. I'm really happy for Chuck, because he's been racing for a lot of years, and I'm just glad to help him get there.
Earlier today, finals were held in 4 other sportsman categories, and right now we'd like to acknowledge them. First of all, it was Super Gas. Nick Ferry in the far lane, Kevin Moore in the near lane. Now at sea level, they run on a 990 index here on the hill. That is factored to a 1053. And it was Ferry in the far lane, running a 1052. His competitor Moore ran even quicker under the index, was disqualified. The win went to the white car. In the stock eliminator final, these are basically street cars with some modifications, but the rules very strictly controlled. It was Jim West in the near lane, Fred Rector in the far lane. Rector foul started. The race was over before it began. Jim West, the Colorado Sports Nationals champion in stock eliminator. Next up came the final in Super Comp. At sea level, it's an 890 control index. Here at this altitude, that was factored up to a 9.46. It was Willie Wilson in the far lane in the Roadster versus Keith Sykes in the near lane in the full-bodied automobile. And a heck of a final round it was. Both of them broke out under 946. Wilson by the lead, so he was the winner at 938, 138 miles an hour. Our congratulations to Willie Wilson. And finally, the popular super stock category. In the near lane was Tim Cole, and in the far lane there, Zenon Kotelko. Kotelko played the lights and lost. The big red bulb relegated him to the runner-up slot. Tim Cole's friends and family ecstatic over his victory at the Colorado Sports Nationals. He won it in an 89 Buick Skylark, 10.88 seconds, 124 miles per hour. Give him a little wave, Tim. There it is. Well, that was then, and this is now. The competition eliminator final round, 2 of the best in all of drag racing. David Nickens versus Ron Neff. And Big Daddy, we heard Nickens say it might take as much as 6/10 under the index for me to beat Ron Neff.
Well, if he does that, he certainly runs the risk of getting that class indexed another nickel permanently.
That's right, which would make an enemy out of everyone in the C-altered class across the United States and Canada. So he doesn't want to do that unless he absolutely has to. And let's remember that David Nickens has forged his way through this field, even though he could not add any Winston points to his total. He has already run all of the allowable races where he can earn points. He's out here just racing to try to win a title. And you can see right here, this time, it will be Neff who has to wait. 0.63 seconds. Does he have the patience to do so? We're about to find out in the Colorado Sports Nationals final round in competition eliminator. A hard-fought class, to say the least. Either driver wanting to bump in finally in the staging beans. Nickens is in. Neff has the better reaction time. Can he get him down? No, he can't. But David Nickens has to push that Oldsmobile 0.56 seconds under the index. An 8:35 at 160 to a losing 7:83 at 170.
There we see the start, and it looks as though, according to the index, that Nickens got the head start. But in fact, it was Neff who took the starting line advantage. But Nickens' car moved real good as it went out and took a tremendous lead on the Dragster. As they moved down course, the Dragster started to make up a little bit of the difference, but it wasn't enough. The Nickens car continued to charge to hold on for a full car length lead.
The competition eliminator championship at the Mopar Parts Mile High Nationals, as it has been so many times this year. To you, David Nickens.
Well, Bob, I tell you, we're just elated. The performance this weekend has been incredible. My driving's been good. The guys have done such a job this weekend. Mike and Robert have made all the right calls, and we raced a very tough competitor this weekend in Ron Neff, and I tell you, he deserves a lot of credit being at home, what he's done for the crowd. And I tell you, we're so happy to win this race for Castrol, and the good Lord has been with us this weekend and helped us do our job. And all we need to do is continue the year out on this pace, and we're going to be totally awesome. And I tell you, I can't say enough for the guys on the crew in Castrol.
And there's only 2 races left, and this is one of them. Top alcohol funny car. What do you think, Big Daddy?
I think it's going to be a real good race for the simple reason that both cars are running very close, and Austin did have a little trouble in the last round, so that kind of evens it out. His performance has been better, but, you know, when you've had trouble, sometimes you don't do as well right after that.
We know Pat Austin has won almost 40 national events. This is the first ever final round for Chuck Cheeseman. That's pressure of its own kind.
Yeah, that will be a lot of pressure on him, and it'll be interesting to see how he holds up. His performance has been just a little bit off of Austin's pace, but, you know, he can make it up on the starting line.
Yep, he sure could. You know, and racers react differently to that situation. Some guys, their first final round, they feel like they already won the race, and they go up there so relaxed and so happy with their performance. Other guys just want it so badly. Well, we'll just have to see what happens. Austin, we don't have to tell you which car it is in the starting line. Chuck Cheeseman will be in the near lane. There's 0.4 of a second from the flash of yellow to green, but if you wait till you see green, you are dead late. A red light for Chuck Cheeseman. He almost pulled that off. The far lane, Pat Austin has won it. 6.33 seconds, 220 miles per hour. I believe his 39th national event victory at the age of 26. That was so close. Let's go down to Don Garland.
Well, he just stayed real steady all day.
Well, you know, Don, that's the way you win races. And we're just really thankful. Thank you.
Chuck fouled, but they all look like line drives in the box score.
Yeah, it was a great race. I mean, it's fun. You come to this race, you really don't know where to go every time because the altitude is so high, and you come here and you give it your best shot. You know, you give your records from last year and do your best. It doesn't come out to work that way all the time. And so we took us a couple of runs, but my dad prevailed, and it's just a great team effort with my brother and Ora. I mean, that's a crew of a 4-time world champion. That's all I can say. I mean, those guys speak for themselves, and I'm just glad to be in the driver's seat of a Castrol car. I mean, the Castrol car's winning his team in drag racing. They make us look good, and we try to help them out the best we can. And Oldsmobile winning his team in drag racing, along with Castrol, and Dynamax, and you'll see Dynamax performance mufflers on race cars for a long time, and we're all going to win races together, and I'm just having fun. And I got to think, I want to send something home to my aunt. I hope you get well soon, Susie. Do your best, and God bless.
The Austins, a very, very closely knit family. They all live, if not on the same street, within a few blocks of each other. I had the privilege of visiting them there, and they're just superhuman beings and obviously great drag racers. Speaking of a couple of great drag racers in the alcohol ranks, they don't get any better than these two.
Well, Blaine Johnson, the current Winston champion, but Conway leads in the points, and he wants to be the champion for 1991.
Blaine Johnson from Santa Maria, California. That's his brother, Alan. One of the most talented crew chiefs in any category of drag racing, and a very tight family there again. The dad travels with him and drives the truck and kind of stays out of the way and lets the boys do their thing. Tom Conway, his wife Linda, that's all you'll ever find in that truck. That's all they need. Conway in the near lane. Conway drills Johnson on the lights. And outpowers him to the finish line. A 6:31 to a 6.34. The whole shot made it look worse than it really was.
Linda, great win. What do you think?
Oh, I think that's nice, and we need 3 more nationals just like that one.
Think you can win the championship?
I don't want to think that far ahead, but we're sure going to try.
Well, they made a giant stride here in the final round towards that goal, and they hurt Blaine Johnson's chances. Now look, near lane. The whole shot of the day in the category, 9/100ths of a second. It may have been that Johnson's car just didn't move when he stood on the throttle, Big Daddy.
Could be, but Conway was sure aiming to get him. He was going to take him right out by the throat if he had to.
That was pretty close to a red light. He had that car pretty well coiled up on the starting line. As it turned out, he didn't need it. They could have left dead even, and Conway would have still won it.
Tom Conway, big win. Congratulations.
Thank you. This is what it's all about right here. We sure needed this one.
Is this the classic thrill of victory, beating Blaine Johnson?
Well, I like to beat anybody, especially Blaine.
How close was it?
I didn't see him. I must have left on him because I never saw him.
So think you should have got this new car a little bit earlier in the season?
It's working pretty well, isn't it?
Big win. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Everything's working well for the Tom and Linda Conway team. Our congratulations to them. Also, of course, to Pat Austin, David Nickens, and all the winners here at the Colorado Sports Nationals. For Big Daddy Don Garlitz and Bob Fry, I'm Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us in Morrison, Colorado.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.
The Ford Ski Report is back.